GM guys, and welcome to this week's Ion Power Space. We've got some speakers on the way in, some listeners to follow shortly, hopefully. Some familiar faces I can see appearing today. So we're looking forward to another great conversation, talking all things infrastructure, why Web3 is building the real world. Looking forward to this one. I'll just get some more speakers on the stage, as some more listeners join us, and then we'll kick things off. Okay, there's no point us all sitting here in silence. We can at the very least start saying hello to each other. So let's kick off with All In X. Hey Mike, how's it going?
GM, hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing well, brother. Very excited for this space as always. Let's get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some listeners piling in at pace now, it would seem, as well. So if you want to give a quick intro to All In X, that'd be great.
Absolutely, man. So we're a CDFI exchange. We call ourselves the exchange of everything. We're developing our own chain, ASC, for validating and tokenizing real-world assets out there. We have a staking program called Nexus Staking, which I invite all projects to check out. It's the perfect way to utilize your token and also, bring down the sell pressure and let your users earn yield on top of the tokens that they're holding. Very excited to take a deep dive into today's topic. It's our bread and butter, basically, tokenization and making real world assets accessible for everyone, for the little guys out there, taking things out of the hands of the big corporations. And that's all about All In X I can give you at this point.
That will do nicely. Thank you very much for the intro, and welcome to the space today. Happy to have you with us as always. Who can we head over to next? Paula at Openverse. Nice to see you again. Come and say hello.
Hello guys, can you hear me? All good?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, amazing. Hello everyone again. So I'm Paula. I'm leading strategy at Openverse Network. So for those who don't know us yet, I will give a short intro. So Openverse is building the bridge between real world assets and Web3, connecting value, identity, and yield across chains. So in simple terms, we are creating the infrastructure that makes assets, data, and finance compatible and transparent across the entire ecosystem. And myself, I am shaping that strategy, from positioning partnerships to building the narratives that connect Openverse to the larger decentralized economy. And I'm very happy to be here today.
And happy to have you back with us. I'm looking forward to your takes on the space today and hearing how Openverse fits in with the topic as well. So yeah, thank you for joining us once again. Next up, Water 150 GM. Hello again. Good to see you. Come and say hi.
GM, thanks for having us. Soren here from Water 150. Water 150 tokenizes premium spring water wells, and we issue a token representing the water access rights over at least 150 years. So one token equals 1 liter of premium spring water every year for at least 150 years. The token is the first MiCA-compliant utility token out of Luxembourg. We're aiming for 1,000 water wells globally. And beyond the tokenized ecosystem, we're building also with each well a traditional bottled water business, connecting to the real world, connecting to real world revenue. So yeah, very excited to discuss the real world and Web3 today.
Me too, and fitting indeed that you're here with us on this topic today because it's very close to home for you guys as well. I'm sure you're going to have some great takes on the conversation today. Next up on the panel is Rune Sol, GMGAGE. Come and say hello.
Before I do that, Did you repeat what you said? You said GMGA. Okay,
Good
like
morning, good afternoon, good evening.
GA.
Yes. Wherever you are in the world, my friend.
That is very beautiful. Actually, it's late afternoon, yeah, about getting to evening. So yeah, I guess it's GA. GL to everyone as well in the space. I'm Obito. I'm the community manager for Runzo RPG, and ARPG stands for Action Role Playing Game. So I say it once again, we're dedicated at Runzo to building a wonderful, immersive gaming experience for everyone. I know it's pretty cliche to keep saying that most of the time, but I just believe that you ought to repeat your mission over and over and over again until it's stuck in people's minds. So yeah, we just want to make sure that everyone have fun playing games. It's a different, would I say, meta trending right now, but I do believe that Web3 gaming is inevitable, and we will get to that point where we are able to successfully bridge Web2 and Web3 gaming. You no longer can tell the difference when you're playing a game if it's Web2 or Web3. You just have your fun. So yeah, thank you so much for having us today. Over to you.
Thank you for joining us as always. Always a pleasure to have you, and looking forward to some more today. Who do we have next? Bazaar, it's nice to see you back. GM, where are you in the world? Come and say hello.
GM, how's everyone? Thank you so much for having us here, as always, in your spaces. And for those who do not know yet, I am Akai. I am the community manager at Bazaars, and Bazaars is a decentralized P2P marketplace where everyone can put their items, products on sale, and our users can use their crypto to shop on our listed items. So our platform, Bazaar Setup, accepts USDT, USDC, Ethereum, and our BZR token. And Bazaars is registered in the United Kingdom. And what else? So if you have something in mind that you want to buy lately, like for example iPhone 17, brand new shoes, a gift for someone, over to Bazaar Setup, and it's high likely that you'll see it there because we have over 1 million of products listed there now. So type Bazaar Setup and see our decentralized P2P marketplace. Thank you.
And thank you too. Thank you for joining us. Happy to have you back with us. Not seen you for a little while. Looking forward to some takes today. Who do we have left? AI Layer, come and say hello. Nice to see you too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oli, and good evening, everyone. I'm representing AI today on today's space, and I'll say we're excited to be here with Empower and the other speakers as well. And for those just joining us for today, a quick intro is AI is actually a Bitcoin layer 2, right? Built specifically to power AI application at scale. And we combine Bitcoin's security with modular AI infrastructure to support everything from computational workloads to data networks. And one of our milestones is actually we've reached over $700 million in peak TVL, and we actually focused on reward AI adoption. Yeah, thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you very much for the intro, and thank you for being here with us on the panel today as well. Couple more left to go. Next up, Mr. Mete Bashkaya. Nice to see you again. Come and say hi to our speakers and listeners.
Hello everyone, GM, GI, and everything else. Actually, it's a good evening right now in Turkey, Istanbul. I would like to have a brief information about me. I'm an academician lecturing about blockchain, cryptocurrency, and AI. I'm now giving consultancy to the projects right now with AI and also the Web3 projects. Right now, I'm a lecturer academician at the university. I'm the thought leader of Sui Foundation, working with Binance, giving lectures with Binance, and 12 years about cryptocurrency. And now I'm open to all the collaborations and the partnerships, by the way. and have a good space, and take care, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I'm sure you're going to give us some highly powerful educational insights on the topic today, as you always do. Looking forward to some more of those. And last but certainly not least, the man behind the PAI3 profile picture, Pradeep. Nice to see you again. Not spoken for a while. Been a long time.
It has indeed, and it's great to see some familiar faces on the space, Mete and Eon, Bazaar's AI Layer, and new faces as well. So it's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Bit of an introduction. PAI3 is an AI network which brings together DeFi, DePIN, and AI with the explicit purpose of giving businesses and individuals the ability to run AI privately in their business, using their private data, and to do so in a cloudless environment. So we give them a completely decentralized infrastructure on which they can build their own models, build their own agents, train their own models, and have them interact privately with their data, and in a shared economy where everyone can share the revenue that is generated from this network. And the focus is on security, on privacy, and real world use cases, primarily focused on healthcare, on legal, finance, construction, manufacturing. So those are the stakeholders we serve. And so this is very relevant to us, the Web3 building the real world. I think it couldn't be more pertinent or timely. So thank you for having us. Look forward to hearing from other speakers and look forward to contributing.
Thank you for joining us. Pleasure to have you as always. Lovely intro there. And I'll give a little intro to Ion Power as well before we dive in. So Ion Power is a decentralized clean energy network and infrastructure project built to tokenize electricity generation and consumption through blockchain tech. It combines real-world energy production with digital asset economics, creating a transparent ecosystem where both producers and consumers participate directly in the value of sustainable power. At the very core is the Ion Power Station, a proprietary tested technology that uses the physical phenomenon of cavitation to generate clean electricity with no environmental impact. Now, these stations connect to the Ion Power Grid, a global network linking thousands of independent power generators. And that grid operates under a non-profit European association, ensuring trust, regulatory alignment, and public participation. The overall Ion Power Grid mission is to democratize access to affordable, sustainable electricity by merging renewable power generation with blockchain transparency, effectively turning the world's energy into a verifiable, tradable, real-world asset. So that is Ion Power in a large nutshell. While we have all of our listeners here, I do encourage you to give all of our speakers a follow. They're building some amazing things. Those that aren't on their project profiles, I'm sure they have their project profiles in their bios. Give them all a follow and keep an eye on what they're doing. Some amazing stuff going on amongst the projects in this panel today. And with that, I think we've covered everyone. So let's dive in. Why Web3 is building the real world. So Web3's next evolution isn't so much about finance. It's about foundations. You know, amongst the sort of global pressures on energy, data, mobility infrastructure, it's not really a movement anymore, but the decentralized physical infrastructure network is very much reshaping how society builds, runs, and invests in the systems that keep the world running. Through the merge of token economics with actual physical infrastructure. This wave is rewarding contributors, decentralizing ownership, and redefining how value is created in the real world. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Infrastructure as community, not just as a slogan, but as a blueprint for power grids, connectivity networks, energy systems to be built, to be funded, and to be governed in new ways. So with that, let's dive in. So kicking things off, what does it mean to tokenize infrastructure? You know, as DePIN gains momentum, more projects are merging digital networks with physical infrastructure. But What qualifies as tokenized infrastructure, and how does it change participation? Let's open this one up with Mr. All In X. Mike, gonna throw this one straight to you if that's okay.
Absolutely. So, when people hear tokenized infrastructure, they usually think it's some, fancy way of saying you just slap the token onto a real world system. But obviously it's way deeper than that. It's mostly about turning participation into real ownership, taking something that's always been run top down, as I mentioned in my intro, whether it be energy, transport, any other kind of thing that's happening in the real world, and being able to break it into thousands of smaller community-owned pieces so that the real people actually own what is happening. When you look at how the old world works, or should I say the current world, a handful of corporations build infrastructure, then we have governments that come in and regulate it, and users just consume it. That's how it is. You pay your bills, you get your service, and that's the end of the story. But when it comes to tokenization, it basically flips that narrative. You're not just consuming anymore. You're a contributor. You're doing something actually, and you're part of the system. I'll give you an example from what we do at All in X. We've got this entire CDFI layer that connects real world assets. It handles staking, trading, derivatives all in one place. And it is, whether it's issuing tokens, trading them, or, managing your assets, it's basically a one-stop service platform. And what that does is, basically, turns traditional liquid assets into accessible, participatory systems. And the same concept applies to physical infrastructure as well. If you're providing compute power, if you're providing energy, data, then the logical thing is that you should earn from it. It's the same logic for reward contribution. Basically rewarding the contribution that people are putting on the table, and unlike what we're doing right now, where it's just the capital that we're valuing, not what other people, all the parts of this ecosystem, are contributing to the existence of this whole ecosystem. And that is the power of tokenized infrastructure. It is not just a financial product anymore. It's basically an economy, an entirely new economy that's built on shared effort. And I think that's the real value that tokenization brings with itself. It awards and rewards participation and contribution rather than just the capital and the money that you put on the table.
Yeah, great take. Absolutely. The real value, or at least part of the real value, is distributed contribution. 100%. Infrastructure used to be built, or is still built by those huge players that you're talking about, funded by capital, fees captured downstream. But with tokenization models, as you say, rightly so, contributors become owners. Participation becomes that value creation, not just cost. It's a very cool model. And yeah, great take, Mike. Thank you. Thank you very much. Who can we grab next on this one? Let's grab Author 150, another real world asset project there. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, Mike put it really beautifully. It is much more than the financial gain of everybody in the ecosystem, but it's rather all the benefits that come from everybody participating in the ecosystem, and even the opportunity to participate in the ecosystem. Most of these businesses that are being innovated by the Web3 space, they already exist in Web2, right? It's just that we put our touch on it and we make it inclusive. Anyone can participate. And so we open doors for participation, and therefore rewarding those participants. But it also provides additional benefits then to the whole ecosystem, like transparency, like a more robust ecosystem that doesn't depend on one entity. So Yeah, it's really about finding where it is possible to apply our ethos, or how, rather, because in most business models it is possible to apply our ethos somehow, and then find the right people who want to participate, who are passionate about it, and that way it really becomes a much more powerful entity, combined entity, community.
It absolutely does, and and in the reverse of that, obviously through tokenization, it allows people to own, a fraction, or more, actually be a participatory, contributing owner. But it also, from the project side of things, means they don't have to be backed by these sort of predatory funds and capital firms that are ultimately gonna pull the rug out from under them for a profit at the first opportunity. Not all of them, of course, but we've all seen it in the past. So there's two-sided benefits to that side of things, but yeah, great take again. Thank you very much, Mr. Bashkaya. Do you have any thoughts on this one? You are unmuted, my friend, but we cannot hear you at the moment, or at least I can't anyway.
Elon's acting up again.
Yeah, he's playing with us again. Mete, do you want to try just mute and unmute again? Let's try once more. No. You may have to just drop out and back in, and I'll bring you back up onto the stage, if that's okay. Yeah, there we go. So let's grab Azar's on this one. What are your thoughts here?
I think for the past 5 years, Web3 is really impacting the real world, and it seems like we get to see how the future looks like with it. And so for my take, I'll just hover and aim to the commerce side, since it is the focus area of bazaars. If you look back, the trading of goods has always been the foundation of human connection, right? From how our ancestors trade their goods, exchanging something they own to something somebody owns that they think and agree have the same value, to these days that we already have a malls and global online marketplace. So the way we trade goods evolved alongside with technology, but one thing remained constant, and that is trust. Buyers and sellers have always relied on systems that promises, I think, fairness, right? Because a piece of metal for a pack of candy, a couple of papers in exchange of one cart of goods at a grocery store, looks like we love to put value into something, right? And now with the rise of Web3, we're entering a new generation where these values are no longer managed by intermediaries, but powered by transparent and decentralized technology, which is the blockchain. And through blockchain, bazaars is redefining ownership and value. It's not just about digital assets anymore. It's about connecting or merging Web3 and Web2, bringing real-world trade on-chain, making commerce borderless, peer-to-peer, and verifiable in ways Web2 could never achieve. And Bazaars is as you guys know, Bazaars is a decentralized P2P marketplace where people can buy and sell physical and digital products directly using crypto, and all transactions that are being made in our marketplace are secured on the blockchain, and payments are handled through smart contracts. So users just need to connect their Web3 wallets like MetaMask or Wallet Connect, and they can seamlessly shop on Bazaar setup. And of course, just like any marketplaces, we need to protect our users, not just our buyers, but also our sellers. So we abide from regulations that are that concerned with bazaars. And as Web3 continues to shape the real world, we're already steadily seeing the influence of it to our world, right? Nations are starting to utilize this technology to cater their respective needs. For example, here in the Philippines, a while ago, there's a senator that proposes to a chamber to make his blockchain bill a law. The sole purpose of his bill is to make financial reports of the government transparent, basically mitigating any corruptions or hopefully end the corruptions here in our country. And looking ahead to the future of Web3, I think it will be about mass adoption, and integrations. And people won't just talk about using Web3. We live in it. And Bazaars is helping to build that reality.
Some very nice takes indeed. And I love that you mentioned the blockchain bill in the Philippines. I've been watching that very closely. I've got a number of friends from Manila myself. There's been some very heated conversations around that, and I'm quite looking forward to seeing how that develops. That's for sure. But yes, it's some great takes. Thank you very much, Bazaars. Can we grab one more on this one for some different thoughts? Paula at Openverse, any thoughts on this one?
Hey guys. I mean, pretty much everything has been said, but I can highlight that, in my opinion, like tokenizing infrastructure means that basically we are converting real world activity, like energy production, compute power, data sharing into on-chain value. So it's how we align incentives between users, operators, and investors. So it's basically what we are doing at Openverse as well. We see tokenization as a bridge, transforming every measurable contribution into an asset class. So I guess pretty much we all said everything.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'll come to you a little earlier the next time I come and grab you,
Okay.
so you're not at the back end. But no, great. Yeah, some great answers all around, and everything pretty much has been said. Infrastructure tokenization, it's about converting access and contribution into ownership, really. And just a little bit from the Ion Power perspective, that means transforming the world's energy network from centralized utilities into decentralized token-driven ecosystems. It is as simple as that. There's nothing more that needs to be said. But great answers from everyone there. Coming to the rest of you guys shortly. So on to decentralization meeting dependability. As more physical networks go on-chain, reliability becomes more crucial. It is anyway, but it becomes more so. So how do these decentralized systems ensure stability, data accuracy, and consistent service at scale? Over to PAI3, Pradeep. This one I'll open up with you.
Could you rephrase that for me?
Yeah, so as more of these physical networks go on chain, reliability is becoming more crucial. So ultimately, how do these decentralized systems ensure stability, data accuracy, and consistent service at scale?
Okay. Well, that's a broad question. And so I can start with the data. That's my domain expertise. In terms of data privacy and security, you certainly have a built-in advantage to a decentralized system in the sense that you have a more distributed attack surface instead of a centralized database. So the fact that decentralization allows you to segment and archive data and encrypt data in multiple places makes the attack surface smaller. So that's its strength. The vulnerability is that if you use that improperly, you multiply your attack surfaces. If you just replicate your data on the chain, it's incredibly more risky and incredibly less compliant. So as long as we deploy the strength of Web3, the distributed strength of blockchain with containerization, which gives you isolation and segmentation, all those things, as long as you architect the solution for data privacy from the beginning, Web3 has a tremendous advantage over any and all Web2 solutions, unequivocally, because you have a much better architecture of how data is stored, encrypted, accessed, and managed in Web3. So that's your inherent advantage. But it's kind of like a very sharp knife. You can use it to cut off your own feet if you blindly replicate data. And as a concrete example of that, when I got after being in healthcare for 30 years, into blockchain and Web3, there were a lot of projects talking about, we're just going to put everybody's medical records on chain. And I was invited to join these companies, and I refused because you can't put medical data on chain. That's a violation that costs $50,000 in fines per instance. So you could very quickly end up in the jailhouse if you willfully put patient data on the chain. So the Web3 is very powerful technology, but it tends to be, sometimes used like a sledgehammer when you really need to use it like a scalpel. So data side, it has very strong advantage, but it also has to be used correctly. Now, when you talk about the physical infrastructure, again, it has a very significant advantage in that you can distribute compute power and more, people can participate at that infra, and you don't have to rely upon a nuclear power data center to run your business. And that's a huge advantage. But along with that comes the risk of who's running my node? Where is the validation happening? Is one of the nodes sitting in North Korea? So you do need to, again, then bring some level of oversight and compliance on the DPIN, if you will, where you need to be able to account for where the nodes are. And this is something that we struggle with when we try to work with the big DPIN providers. Many of them are, doing very well in terms of hope and promise, but when you try to use them in real world, using healthcare or finance or government or national security or intelligence, suddenly you find that you can't use DPIN because they can't account for where their nodes are. They don't know the physical location of the nodes, which makes it very dangerous to use them. So again, decentralized infrastructure is infinitely more stable than a centralized data system, but you need to have compliance layer, governance layer on top of it, which then gives you trust. So in a nutshell, when you bring it all together, Web3 is a superior technology than Web2 compute patterns that we have seen for the last 50 years. But what it tends to be weak on is the governance layer. But we are starting to see more and more governance come in. But as that governance layer matures, Web3 becomes a very viable alternative to Web2. That's my take.
And a very nice take indeed. You're absolutely right. It's a very broad question and so many ways to attack it. But knowing your experience and your expertise in the data sector, I hugely appreciate your take from that angle. And the medical stuff you were mentioning about what happened previously, people wanting to put data on chain. Yeah, that's it's kind of unimaginable, really. There's nothing more private than your own medical records. So that being said, ChatGPT knows things about me that my doctor doesn't know, just through my own carelessness, I guess. So we all make mistakes. But great take, Pradeep. Thank you very much. Who else can we grab here? Runesol, come and give your take on this one.
Am I the one you were asking for? My network kind of glitched for a moment.
Sorry, say that again.
I was like, am I the one you were asking for? Am I the one you were calling on?
Yes.
Okay. So, first of all, I just want to say, I think the speaker from PAI3 has done more justice to this question. So I'm just going to add to what he said. And it's going to come from the perspective of knowing these things, you know. For me, I actually believe that yes, if you're talking about decentralization in sense of infrastructure building in the real world, lots of people want to have trust, and you can't have trust if you don't know who you're relying on. Because if we were to say, okay, we're going to use decentralization to work things like, would we say, I want to say power grid, but that doesn't, it's more of, I'm trying to think of something where we can say, okay, yeah, people are running that, so it has to be more of a deep-in system. And if we were to say, okay, artificial intelligence, take for example, and we have models that are shipping information every well, I don't remember the metrics that was said for Google, but how many computers are running at the same time to give you your quick answers for everything you search. So imagine we're in a situation where we tell ourselves, okay, yes, for you to get these answers, what's being done is that every person in a particular country is working on this system. So whether it's a PlayStation here, that's talking about the pin, how we have certain things that can contribute for the Web2 perspective. So a PlayStation 5 is strong enough to contribute. A smart TV is strong enough to contribute. Just things that can passively contribute to the network. So if you were to say, okay, fine, we want all these things contributing and it would be working to help people. The question is, if one were to fail, can you pinpoint where it came from? And that is the problem with decentralization, because it's all about, oh, no need for middlemen, or no need for major identification. When you're talking about ZK proofs and all of that, that's zero knowledge proof. So you don't need to know these people, but you're getting things from them in return. But if you're talking about a system like this that requires people to go on chain, the physical networks that we all know, and they're going on chain, how you're going to be able to grow it is being able to tell where things come from. When there are issues, you're able to tell that, okay, this is where the issue came from, this is where the problem came from. And I just feel like the only way we're going to be able to solve that in the long run is balancing that reliability, balancing that identity, where you're able to verify, okay, the problem came from there. And I'm not so much of a techie person, I'm a non-technical person, so I don't know how that works in the background. If we're talking about decentralization and still being able to verify certain locations, if we're talking about physical networks, but I just feel like the main solution will come of people being able to actually identify these things, where you can record, okay, this came from here. If there are 10 systems supporting a sector, you can know, okay, two systems failed and they came from A location, B location. That's just my take on the question. Back to you.
A very nice take indeed. Yeah, reliability is it's kind of the Achilles heel of a lot of decentralized models. It's easy to promise everyone can join and earn, but it's much harder to guarantee uptime, maintenance, verification, as you mentioned, and even service levels when infrastructure is distributed globally. And one of the key enablers, again, as you mentioned, is data, whether it be telemetry, IoT sensors, oracles, whatever that might be. If you can't measure output or even find flaws, you can't verify it, you can't reward it. And the projects that are going to succeed in this space will embed that measurable performance effectively, not just token issuance ultimately. So yeah, great take. Thank you very much. Who have we not heard from yet today? AI Layer. What are your thoughts here? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and kudos to the speakers as well. Some great points as actually mentioned, and honestly, I'll say this actually is a biggest challenge for the pain projects, right? Because users actually don't care about um, centralization if service doesn't work reliably, right? And traditional infrastructure companies spend decades, decades building redundancy, quality control and service level agreements, that actually guarantees the uptime. And when you utilize infrastructure and rely on thousands of independent operators with verifying level of commitment and technical capability, maintaining the same reliability becomes like incredibly complex, right? And the solution requires multiple layers, right? Economic incentives, reputation systems, redundancy by design, and algorithmic quality monitoring, right? And I think I'm just going to discuss the economic incentive part and redundancy and geographical distribution, right? Because I think Pradip has actually made a good take regarding the data accuracy and verification, right? And I'll say economic incentives are actually the first layer of ensuring reliability, right? And most independent projects use staking mechanism where operators have to lock up tokens as collateral that can be slashed if they actually provide poor service. And if you're running a storage node and go offline frequently or you lose data, right? You actually lose your stake too. And if you're providing wireless coverage, but your hotspot is actually unreliable, and I think the penalty for that is your earnings decrease drastically, right? I think this actually doesn't sound so good, but it actually creates a skin in the game, right? Where players are financially motivated to maintain high quality service, right? But incentives alone, as we all know, are not enough. You also need like real-time monitoring and verification systems that can detect when nodes are like underperforming or providing false data, right? And I think prayer use proof of coverage challenges and data retrieval tests and network quality metrics to constantly verify that network is actually delivering what it claims to deliver, right? And on the redundancy and geographical distribution part, right? I'll say built designed from day one, right? Traditional infrastructure are a single point of failure if AWS goes down in one region. Everything hosted in that region actually go down with the network, right? And the people project architects, are known for their resilience by distributing data and services across many independent locations, right? And storage network too, plays a crucial role here, right? Because you don't just have to store all your data in one, right? You have to create multiple replicas across geographically like diverse providers, with cryptographic proof as well. So if one node actually fails and the others, have to take over seamlessly. And lastly, I'll say, compute network routes too. The compute network routes tags are has to be available, for providers automatically, and it actually distributes architecture because no single operation, operators, is actually meant to fail, because when an operator fails, it brings down the whole network with it, and it actually makes centralized infrastructure potentially more reliable than centralized alternative, because there is no single point of failure. While I think you are centralized, I think that's the point. Oli.
I was struggling to unmute myself there. My not even X. My laptop is being very, very strange today. Yeah, great take, AI layer. Thank you very, very much. Some great takes from everybody really. This question is it's quite broad as Pradeep mentioned, but there's some key answers here, and from again from the Ion Power perspective in energy for obvious reasons. The approach links on-chain transactions directly to real-world telemetry, power output, consumption, efficiency, all of the key metrics connected to energy to be able to reward and verify and understand. And this model makes decentralization measurable by embedding a proof of output system within the token layer itself. It ultimately transforms reliability from a promise into an auditable fact. There is no escaping it, and that's the way that the Ion Power are building that kind of credibility. I just want to apologize to the speakers that keep getting rugged from this space. I appreciate your persistence in attempting to get back up to the stage. I will continue to accept those requests. But on that note, let's hop onto number 3. So, who owns the infrastructure of the future? The simple version. A little bit more context. As Web3 redefines ownership, new models of community-led infrastructure are emerging. We're seeing it happen. So who will own and maintain these networks ultimately, and how will governance evolve alongside that? Opening up with Openverse this time. Over to you, Paula.
Hello. Okay, that's a great, interesting question, actually. So I will share my thoughts. I think the future of infrastructure ownership is more like network, not monopolized. And we are moving from top-down corporations to distributed ecosystems where ownership is earned through contribution, whether that's capital, compute, or community engagement. So Deepin projects now actually are experimenting with new governance primitive initiatives like quadratic voting, reputation-weighted systems, and hybrid DAOs that link real-world performance to governance rights. It's not perfect yet, but it's a massive shift in incentive design from passive investors to active stakeholders. So at Openverse, that principle powers our value internet, where ownership and influence are both tied to measurable activity. It's not about who has the most capital, but who adds the most value.
It is indeed. It is indeed. And we are seeing a big shift. You're right. It's not perfect. Will it be one day? Hopefully. If we all keep doing the right things, there is hope. But we are seeing a significant shift from centralized ownership, as you say, to local ownership, local contribution, local production, community nodes, and token holders becoming co-owners. It is a big shift that we are seeing. And governance, while it's it's still going to play an important role regardless. Going a complete community DAO model would be no disrespect to any DAOs in the audience, but it would be a little bit ludicrous, really. Especially for the important sort of borderline project life or death decisions to pass that down to anybody other than a highly educated council with the best interest of the project in mind would be even more careless. But yeah, great takes, Paula. Thank you very, very much. Water 150, over to you.
Awesome, thank you. I gotta say, I totally agree with Paula. However, we also gotta kind of take see how what kind of lens we put on to look at ownership, right? Because it also means responsibility and legal responsibility, legal ownership, or is it like real ownership? If you hold a token and then you get access to something, do you actually have real ownership, right? How do you define that ownership? In a lot of cases, it's actually the case that there is still an entity on top that legally owns something, legally is responsible as well. In most cases, I would probably claim. In our case with Water 150, we've solved it in a way where we have a Swedish foundation without owner. And the decree of the foundation is set in stone for at least 150 years. So the mission, the vision of the foundation cannot be changed, not even by the founder. Now that foundation is gonna own all the water that we secure, all the water wells. And then there is a connection to different entities, an operational company, a token issuing entity, and they're connected with a 3-party agreement. So legally, our token holders cannot own the water. Yeah, they don't legally own the water. However, they do own water access rights, which essentially is the same thing, but just not from a legal compliance perspective. So, and we strongly believe this kind of model is going to be adopted by a lot of projects in the future as well. But of course, the more the Web3 space grows, the more interesting solutions we are going to see as well, and potentially the easier it will be as well to transfer actual legal ownership via the token as well.
Yes, some great takes again. We're getting some amazing answers today. Governance is critical here. But we are seeing a lot of hybrid models in this kind of space as well. Traditional operators even partnering with token networks in such a way that infrastructure is kind of co-owned by legacy players, but also decentralized communities, which is interesting development. We're seeing the connection of Web 2 and Web 3 regardless, but to actually see it in that way at this stage was quite surprising for me. But I've seen a few cases of that. But yeah, thank you very much from Soren at Water 150. Mr. Bashkaya, and what would you like to add on this one, Mate? Can you hear me? And most importantly, can I hear you?
I hope you can hear me right now, right?
Yes, there we go. Yes.
Okay, that's good to hear. Actually, uh, as I said, I would like to have a brief information, and also I would like to enlarge the thing that about this digital property. For the last decades, we have tokenized, as I said, money. And yesterday I also mentioned about the subject, but I would like to repeat, and also I would like to add some issues on it. This kind of things, is now, right now measurable. But after 5 years, we cannot imagine what kind of things has to be made and has to be done in that conditions, okay? And think about this way, please. When you connect your phone to a Wi-Fi hotspot, you're using a network someone else built and maintained. In the old world, that provider was a telecom giant, okay? In the new world, it's a community. Projects like Helium showed that ordinary people could deploy some hardware hotspots and earn token by providing wireless coverage. And also the Render network did it. And even Filecoin is also doing it. I'm talking regardless to the price, okay? This is what we mean by tokenized infrastructure. Instead of central corporations owning and controlling the physical networks, the power of our lives, ownership is distributed, and incentives are transparent. Tokens are not just currencies in here. They are coordination tools. And they allow strangers to build shared infrastructure at global scale without ever meeting, because the blockchain keeps score, rewards contribution, and also verifies the trust. But let's completely be honest regarding this. Decentralization is not enough. The world doesn't just need ideals. It needs dependable systems. Okay. If a decentralized energy grid goes down or centralized internet provides fails, it's not a philosophical issue. It's really world downtime. So decentralization must meet dependability. That means what? That means the networks like Akash for cloud compute or Poland Mobile for telecom must guarantee service level reliability, and just Amazon or Vodafone did. But without the monopoly, this balance is where the infrastructure tokenomics becomes art, engineering combined, rewarding uptime, and penalizing failure, and designing incentive curves that sustain the network without collapsing it. And the most successful decentralized systems will be those that behave like public utilities, reliable, predictable, yet community-owned. And the last verse, this is how Web3 earns legitimacy and in the eyes of enterprise, regulators, and citizens alike. Because the true freedom isn't chaos. It's dependable choice. Thank you.
Great takes. Dependable choice. Yes, that is the true freedom. It really is. And you mentioned a couple of big names in the middle of there. Obviously the project, the render, Filecoin, what they're doing is great. But you mentioned, I think it was Amazon in there, and the fact that we are, in this space still utilizing the likes of Google Cloud Services, Amazon Web Services to complete the sort of infrastructural models that we're trying to make to be able to scale, just kind of goes to show that there's still some work to be done in this space. Because while it wasn't necessarily those guys that crypto was Web3 decentralization was made to get away from, it is the centralization that ultimately their foundational models are built on. And the fact that they're great to have there on the sidelines to be able to bring in, but where we're aiming for, I hope at least, is a decentralized space that doesn't require centralized assistance. But we shall see. We will get there one day. Let's just see how soon. Who can we grab? Let's grab one more of you guys on this one. Mike, all in. What are your thoughts here?
Great points all around. Nothing much left to say, honestly, but it's a tricky question. It gets, real philosophical real quick. Ownership is obviously changing, and honestly, the old model of ownership doesn't fit a decentralized world. It's not a boardroom decision anymore. It's earned ownership, and it is looking at it in terms of Web3. It's distributed through actions, through data, through contribution of each user. And honestly, again, to give you an example, that is what we've been building around at All in Ace from day one. I mentioned our staking system, which is literally built on that principle. It rewards alignment, participation, time. So it doesn't focus on liquidity alone. You stake, you vote, you share your direction, and basically the whole rewards of the whole ecosystem is shared between everyone. It's governance that actually feels like governance. So imagine that applied to a power grid, to a storage layer, anything out there. The people running the nodes, the people that are contributing the energy, the people that are actively verifying the data, they're the ones who own it at the end of the day. And that's a big cultural shift, but it's also the fairest version of ownership we've had in a long time. So fingers crossed, I think we are basically on the right path, and only time will tell. But it is kind of, in my opinion, inevitable that we will move in this direction.
Oh, struggling here again with my buttons. Yes, no, some great takes again, and we are moving in a great direction. And just to touch on the governance side of that question, governance does matter, of course. Tokens alone don't guarantee fairness, and as we know, if a small group controls the majority of nodes or decision power, you get decentralization just simply by another name. And effective models are ultimately going to define roles, rights, and rewards transparently. But obviously tokenization ownership is fantastic, but governance is a hugely important factor that needs to come into play here. And some great answers from everyone, as always. Let's hop on to the final topic of the day. Again, looking forwards, much like the last one, but scaling the physical web. So deep in, as we know, it's emerging across sectors, but scalability is obviously still arguably the biggest challenge, simply because it hasn't been scaled yet. How do we bridge the gap between the kind of prototype stage that we're at? I know it's a little beyond that, but it's still very much in its infancy. How do we bridge that gap from prototype to global infrastructure? Who can we open this one up with? We have a hand up at Rune Soul.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to contribute to this question while I'm still here because over the course of the space I've worked so many times I can't tell if it's my internet or just some problems with X at this point, but apologies for that. So scaling the physical web, talking about the pin, I believe the biggest problem here would be the coordination involved. If you think about it technically, it takes a lot if you say, fine, we're building networks that involve physical people all over the place, and then it's okay if it's in one town, if it's in one city or a state. Let's even say a country. But if you're saying scaling it globally, it would involve a lot of different things. So what is the probability that you're building a system that would allow one system, one supercomputer in the United States to process data, and then someone in Africa or in Asia could do the same? There's a question of speed, there's a question of the regulations involved, interoperability as well. Then you'd also ask, okay, what would the incentives look like? I was doing some research about incentivization and also talking about how people are rewarded when it comes to things like this. And I was made to understand through the research that you wouldn't exactly compensate someone who is contributing from the United States the same way you would you would reward someone who is contributing from, take for example, South Africa or Nigeria. Being said, because the ability for someone who is in the United States to contribute is slightly better, or I wouldn't say slightly, it's much, much better. But the things they would be able to contribute, the speed and all of that, is much better compared to someone in a third world country. So I believe what is going to be the problem is the coordination, how you're going to be able to do it. Would it be one project and different networks or in different places? And you say, okay, we have one project, but is it going to be a network in the United States or in North America? Is there going to be a separate network in Africa? Is there going to be a separate network in South America? Or it's going to be one network made up of these people in different places? And when you think of it with this concept, when you think of it from this perspective, you begin to realize it's going to take a lot of connection. It's going to take a lot of brainstorming. I don't think one project can do that. Because it's no longer just about the tech alone. It also has a lot to do with the money that's going to do that. You don't say things like this and just say, oh, like I said before, I'm not a tech person, but I'm pretty sure it's going to cost a lot of money. So I believe projects that can tap into the systems already exist. Okay, you tap into the system, look at other projects. Some projects might be better at doing certain things when it comes to different demographic. Then some other projects also can be good at things when it comes to speed. Some can be good at the reliability we're talking about earlier. The main thing is just that it will not come from projects who seek to do it alone, because you cannot do it alone. If you want to scale globally, that is the concept of community. That is the concept of bringing together Web2 and Web3. You have to implement, you have to look outward, you also have to look inward as well. So that's my perspective. I just believe the best way to do it from my perspective would be to make sure that there are a lot of collaborations. People come together, they share ideas, they believe, okay, this is how it can work for this area, this is how it can work for this area. Would we build separate networks for different places, or it's just going to be together? All in all. So that's my perspective. Thank you so much. Once again, apologies that I've been so quiet for this space. I've been struggling a lot with my internet, but glad I could at least share thoughts on this question. So over to you, yeah.
Thank you for joining us, of course, and thank you for your answer. No apology needed at all. This rugging happens, as we know. You and AI Layer have been Elon's targets today. You guys have been rugged about 6 times between you, and I appreciate the persistence coming back. But you touched on some great points there. The jurisdictional one in particular. This word interoperability, it's such an important word here, but it gets kind of pigeonholed in thinking of cross-chain, but it's much more than that. It's cross-chain, it's cross infrastructure types, and it's cross jurisdictions as well. Just like from an ION Power example, if you like, if a microgrid token can't interact with the broader grid, or a node in one country can't plug into networks in another, for example, then scale remains local, remains fragmented. Those boundaries need to be overcome. And no pun intended, those borders need to be crossed, which they will be, of course. You know, we're there with some parts of it. We just need to get there with the rest. The path is in front of us. Pradeep, PAI3, your hand is up. The mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to build upon a really important point that the previous speaker made about, network segmentation and how do you create geographic networks while maintaining decentralization. And we are dealing with that today. So to give clear context of what this can mean, PAI3 is a global AI network, and you basically have to have one or more power nodes to own a slice of the network. And when you do that, that power node registers and records itself, and then we know that you are located in a certain location. And the node earns reputation, and many other things happen at the node level, earns tokens and whatnot. But this node represents 1/3000th of the compute power of the whole network. Now, what we found when we were working with governments, for example, in the Middle East, or are working with them, they don't want their data logically or physically to leave their country, or certain countries, in this case, conglomerate of Middle Eastern countries who don't want the data to reside outside their 5-6 country nexus. So what then we had to do was to design a subnet system where you can pin your data to a subnet of nodes, and that data will then not get replicated to nodes that are outside that subnet. And by doing so, we could demonstrate physical custody compliance issues. And then there are other countries or other use cases where you want the data to replicate globally because it's a model that you want everybody to access, and there is no PHI, PII involved. So this is a very important consideration in the DeepIn space. And we are a AI DeepIn solution along with many other things, but in the DeepIn space, you have to be able to, through a governance layer, which we touched upon earlier, be able to definitively give the client a assurance as to the physical custody and control over their data. And without that, you're not going to meet local compliance standards. So the previous speaker made a very good point, and it sort of triggered absolutely, he's right, and we are dealing with it today, and kind of a reaction. So I wanted to share that with everyone here.
Thank you very much. Great take, as always, Pradeep. There's a lot that we're going to have to, a lot of ground that we're going to have to cover, building, bridging these gaps that we're trying to bridge. As Runesell previously also mentioned as well, not just the complexities, but the cost, the expense, and the tokenization that we're seeing. It does reduce some friction, but you still need regulation, you need maintenance, you need hardware inputs, you need real world operations. There is still an awful lot needed, but ultimately, as I mentioned before, the tools are there. The tools are there. So great take, Pradeep. Thank you, and thank you to Runesol as well. AI Layer, your hand was up. It has gone back down. Anything you'd like to add on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, right? And I think I'm just gonna go over some points real quick, so I won't go over time, right? And personally, I think the gap between prototypes and infrastructure is massive, because you know, just like scaling software, right? So you're coordinating physical deployment across thousands of locations with real world logistics, regulatory compliance, and hardware economics that need to actually work right. The biggest challenge is the chicken and egg problem, right? You do not need demand to justify infrastructure deployment, but you need infrastructure coverage to attract demand, right? And early deployment projects solve this through aggressive token incentives to bootstrap supply side, but that's not actually sustainable in long term, right? Real scalability requires achieving organic demand where people are actually paying to use the service, and which the fund continues infrastructure expansion through real revenue rather than just token emission. And I think hardware economics and standardization are critical for scaling physical infrastructure, right? And the early adopters will deploy equipment, even with uncertain ROI, because they believe in the vision or speculate on token appreciation. But to scale to millions of nodes globally, the unit economic need to be rock solid, right? Operators need clear payback periods, predictable earnings and hardware that's actually affordable and easy to deploy, right? And it actually requires standardizing equipment specifications, negotiation, bulk manufacturing to drive cost downs, and creating a plug and play deployment process where non-technical people can, actually participate. And I think Helium evolved from DIY hardware to certified manufacturer producing standardized hotspot at scale. The manufacturing and supply chain maturity is essential for moving from thousands of nodes to millions, right? And the regulatory navigations become exponentially more complex at scale, because infrastructure touches so much jurisdictions with different rules, right? A wireless network need spectrum licensing, energy infrastructure needs utility regulations, and data storage faces privacy law, and is actually varies by the country you are in. And we all know small pilots can often fly under regulatory radar, but global scaling requires engaging with regulators proactively and building compliance to the protocol design. And the project that scales successfully, I think, we'll be the ones with regulators rather than fighting them actually. And I say the path to global scales requires reaching geographic and market density, the threshold where network effects actually kick in. You can't just randomly deploy infrastructure globally and expect it to work, right? You need concentrated deployments in specifics, right? You also need this in different geographies until you reach critical mass where the service is actually useful. And I think Helium focus on dense urban coverage in specific city before they actually expand. And Hive Mapper actually too is building out systematically rather than just trying to map everything at once. And I'll say the strategy in overall is to dominate specific markets or use cases completely before expanding horizontally. Once you prove the model works at in a city or at a region scale, and it's actually scale with revenue, and it's also satisfied the customers, then you can replicate that playbook globally and attract both operators and institutional capital to fund your expansion. And scaling physical infrastructure is fundamentally different from scaling software, right? You can't just spin up more service. You need real people deploying real equipment in real location as well, which means the growth is inherently more gradual, and it requires much tighter coordination between protocol incentives, right? Operator economics and end user demand to create sustainable flywheel effect. They also need end user demand to create sustainable flywheel effects that compound up together over time. Yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you very much. Another great take. I mean, great takes all around here. There's so many ways to look at this moving forward, and so many things that are going to change. The interoperability, complexities need to be reduced. In actual fact, in that sense, one that's familiar to us all, in conversations recently, and the way the space is shifting is exactly that: user experience, UX, simplicity, abstraction, as much as possible. Of course, in infrastructure, that can mean different things. It's not just abstracting away a wallet, but actually dealing with nodes, compliance forms. All of these restrict growth as well. And ultimately, to reach that goal, that simplicity needs to be there in every sort of type of onboarding, if you like. Tokens tied to infrastructure should, as I think it was Mr. Bashkaya said earlier, it should feel as seamless as utilities, accessing electricity, using the internet. It should feel that simple. That's ultimately where we need to be aiming, and I believe we all are, which is great. Would anybody else like to add anything to this one? Feel free to raise your hand now. If not, we'll head to some wrap ups from our speakers for some updates. and I am not seeing any hands as yet. So, yeah, it has been a great conversation today. Talking about all things infrastructure, and it's much more than a foundation. It's kind of infrastructure is literally the fabric of civilization, pretty much. And as Web3 evolves beyond speculation, as we've been talking about, there really is a belief that projects will endure. The projects that will endure, are those that power real life, not just virtual economies. So, a very, very positive look towards the future. And on that note, bringing back to the present, what's going on with your projects right now? Water 150, any big news, any upcoming events? What's happening?
Oh, there's so much happening at Water 150. Just a lot of things I'm not allowed to talk about just yet. But we will have.
You can't do that. That's just teasing. That's just mean.
We're adding wells to our ecosystem consistently. We'll announce them soon. We have some other bigger announcements. If you want to hear of them first, give us a follow on X, join us on Telegram, and you're going to hear it first.
Fantastic. So loads of news from Water 150, but they won't tell us about it. I mean, that's just rude, to be honest. No, jokes aside. I love the mystery. Give them a follow and keep an eye out. There's some big updates coming. Over to you, Pradeep. I can see your hand is up. Maybe you have a pressing meeting, but the mic is yours.
Yeah, I do need to run, but this is really, really enlightening session. Thank you for conducting it and all the speakers. And it's great to see folks like Mete and others here. To sum it up, from my point of view, I can bring very concrete real world utility that we are trying to drive into a decentralized AI network. And where we see the greatest value that Web3 brings is the trustless trust model. And to be very specific, I'll leave you with an example. How do you trust a clinical model if you don't know who built it? How do you trust this inference if you don't know whether the person training that model is clinically trained, professional, and a competent one? And how do you keep that model from collapsing over time? Because models tend to have an organic lifespan and they do tend to collapse. So how do you know when this model has become unreliable? And then if you can do that in a real world scenario, how do you monetize it so that you get fair value for the 35 years of experience you have, let's say as a neurologist, and you want to get paid for your model as it is being utilized? And then how do you make sure this model is being properly consumed and properly paid for? Those are the type of opportunities. While they sound like questions, these are brand new questions that Web2 never afforded you before. You had to trust blindly a company or a brand. But now you can, as an individual, as a professional, as a competent professional, monetize your unique skill set, especially when it comes to AI, but in general. And Web3 gives you that opportunity. But it doesn't work without proper governance and oversight, because you wouldn't trust a model you download from Lovable blindly and load your kid's medical records into it and then go rush to the pharmacy and buy medicine if you didn't know that this was done by a trained pediatrician who is also keeping a close eye on how the model is behaving. So that's where the real world intersection of Web3 is. The promise of the technology, fair, equitable payments and flow of value, along with governance that you can also count upon. I'll leave you with that thought, and thank you for having me on this amazing panel. Appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us. A pleasure to have you as always, and lovely takes at the end there. Guys, give PAI3 a follow. Oh, he's just hopped out, but hopefully you gave him a follow already. Great project, great building. Who is up next? Mr. Bashkaya, any news going on in your world right now?
Actually, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay then. Everyone talks very, very well. Actually, I would like to have a brief thing about physical web, and also I will give my closing thoughts because I think we have overtimed, and I don't want to make people too bored about it. Actually, scaling the infrastructure tokenization requires some ingredients. Okay, first, hardware incentives. Two, standardizations, regulatory clarity, as I said yesterday, and also cultural adoption, by the way. But actually, what's the main important thing is the adoption side. Because, if I am not wrong, the world has 9 billion people right now, but almost 300 or 400 people has a wallet, has a Web3 wallet that using, or custody wallet that they are using right now. Main concern is for this kind of thing is actually the adoption. If we cannot make the adoption, by the way, it will be all the things, all the tokenization things, all the things will be useless, and all Web3 people know about it. And I'm absolutely very sure that these kind of things has to be educated to the people as soon as possible before doing this kind of specific things, and also and a cultural adoption also for the regions, for the countries everywhere. It has to be also very important. Communities must understand that the participating in this network is not speculation, and also it's co-ownership of the infrastructure we all depend on. And I would like to pass my closing thought and closing speech. And the rise of tokenized infrastructure represents a quiet revolution. It's not to an ideology or but of ownership, by the way. We are building a world where the physical and digital merge. Your solar panel, is an energy node, and your car is a data node. Your phone is a network node, and your participation, especially, this is the most important thing, your personal participation, your uptime, your stake, your contribution becomes a part of the planetary infrastructure. How this decentralization becomes tangible, not just the finance, art, or the pipes, wires, power that makes civilization run. So as we explore the frontier tonight, please remember, we are not just building internet of value. We are building the value of the internet itself. The tokenization of infrastructure is not about the crypto. It's about reclaiming the foundation of the world we live in together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, as always, Mete. And you made a great point at the beginning there. If this global adoption is not reached, it is going to be a huge waste of time, effort, brain power, resources, because ultimately to succeed, it has to go global. It really does. So yeah, a really deep thinking point to finish with there. Thank you very much. Who else has an update for us? RuneSoul, what's going on at RuneSoul right now? Any big news to report?
Okay, so just quickly to run through it just to save time. We are currently working on pushing out our build on the iOS store. That's the Apple App Store. RuneSoul is available on the Google Play Store, so you can go to the Google Play Store, search RuneSoul ARPG, and you can get to playing as soon as possible. Also working on wallet abstraction at this time. We're trying to ensure that those who are logging into the game will be able to log into the game using their wallet, but this will be done also with abstraction if they choose. And as yesterday, I was given some new information, but it's more of a surprise, so I will not be sharing that today. But just to know that RuneSoul is cooking something for the community, and you want to stay tuned for it. Okay, thank you so much for having us today.
And thank you for joining us as well. Looking forward to some more news from RuneSoul. Give those guys a follow. Who do we have left? Paulo, what's happening at Openverse right now? Any new announcements, updates to report?
Yes, I would like to highlight a few things. So we were listed on Binance Alpha, on MEXC, Also, recently we officially launched VRC10 USD, a cross-chain stable asset, and it's now live on Ethereum, BCC-based Polygon, and Arbitrum, enabling seamless interoperability and liquidity across major DeFi ecosystems. So that's a huge move from our side, and we are constantly updating our socials with news and with new partnerships, announcements, and etc. So guys, please join us on our socials and follow the news. Thank you.
And thank you. We certainly will. Looking forward to some more updates there. Thank you for joining us today, Paula. And I believe she has, yes, the Openverse profile in her bio. Go and click that. Give them a follow. Mike at All In X, what have you got to report?
Yeah, it's been a really active month for us. New partnerships, new campaigns, a ton of traction around Nexus. The whole idea is just, giving people more ways to actually use their assets instead of letting them sit idle. And honestly, that's been resonating a lot. We've also been connecting with a lot of builders lately, projects like Tessera and others that share the same vision of basically bridging traditional finance and DeFi in a more intelligent way. And, now with our partner program rolling out, it's kind of turning into a full-on community effort, which is exactly how we like it. Also, the team's out at DevConnect this week, meeting people, hosting side events. So if you're in Argentina, or want to connect or you want to get involved, it's a good time to catch us at the side events there. We're growing fast. Hopefully we're in the right direction. We're still looking and welcoming new partners. So hit me up, give us a follow, and thank you for this great space. Hope to catch you in the next one.
I hope to catch you there too. Thank you for joining us as always, guys. Give All In X a follow. Link in Mike's profile. Thank you for joining us again and participating in the conversation. Who do we have left? I think it is just AI Layer left. So come and give us an update from AI Layer HQ.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate Oli for speaking on behalf of Iron Power and all of the speakers for sharing their perspective as well. And as for what's happening at AI right now, we're actively scaling our Bitcoin layer 2 infrastructure and like expanding our ecosystem of AI applications. And we're also onboarding new developer teams, right? We're also forming partnership with the other new players as well. And we're continuously improving our modular AI subnets, to handle more complex computational workloads. And our focus right now is on real adoption and real utility, right? We want to move beyond just CVM metrics to actual AI applications being built and used on our network. And for those interested in building with us or learning more about AI, check us out on AI.xyz. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay safe out here and catch you up on the next one.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you to all of you for joining us. I think we've gone through everyone now. I believe it's been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you today, exploring how infrastructure is no longer just passive. It is participatory. Tokens, contribution, and ownership mean the people who build also benefit, and that is, as I think it was Paula mentioned earlier, it really is a big shift, a profound shift. Physical and digital worlds are merging. Infrastructure that used to sit outside is now being built with blockchain, funded by and governed through it. And this is just the start. What a time to be alive it is. It's very exciting. It really, really is. Thank you once again to Mete, to Walter 150, RuneSalt, AI Layer, Paula at Openverse, and the speakers that have had to leave us, and All In X, of course. It's been my pleasure to host on behalf of Ion Power with you guys today. And I've really appreciated your contributions. All of you guys out there listening in, give our speakers a follow. Some amazing projects being built. And thank you all for joining us and listening in as well. That's it from me. It's a wrap. And thank you once again. Have a great day, everyone.